Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kryenbrink and Chuck Rowe. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane. Randy Kryenbrink and Chuck Rowe, the show where we talk about mostly one thing and one thing only, and that is
Panther basketball.
Now, it's important that we remind you that even though we are the official UNI basketball show for the Panther Collective, our comments may not reflect those of our feelings of our friends at UNI. However, Randy is a former player, and I got to see Coach Jake win the most wins in the Valley for a coach. So this show is as official as it's going to get. Did you watch that, Randy?
I did get to watch that 188, which is awesome. I mean, that's huge, right? I mean, for Coach Jake, that was a sweet win. And then for those of us who got to see the replay, I guess you might say, the tape version of the locker room when Coach Jake entered the locker room, that was pretty cool.
How could you not get excited watching that, right?
Yeah, it gets a little goosebumps on the back of your neck for sure.
Well, as always, we have a great show for everyone. Joining us this week, Drew Daniel. Then we have some super special guests to talk about Prowl and, of course, the Financial Architect's quote of the week. Let's get started. Mr. Drew Daniel, also known as Drewski, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Now, you grew up in a unique region of Iowa, sports fan-wise. You have a lot of Iowa State, some Iowa and Drake fans in there. So what did you grow up as?
So I'd say I grew up as an Iowa State fan. That's just what my parents kind of chose. And then both my siblings went there. My sister played soccer there. So I was in Ames a lot, got used to that. And then my mom actually played basketball at Drake. So growing up, went to a lot of Drake women's games. And fun fact, she was the first person to score in the Knapp Center when it was first built.
That is a fun fact.
Oh, wow.
It's a little like I call it like my trivia. My one Drake trivia that I know is my mom scored the first points there. So
yeah. In fact, I was going to get to that later, but I'll just bring it up now. Is your mom is obviously a player. So was she the one that helped train you as a kid and everything? And
oh yeah, both my parents. So my dad played at Loris too. So they were both collegiate basketball players.
Okay.
So, yeah, they were both. Basketball was kind of instilled in me at a young age, and they were very open to like, hey, try whatever sport you want. You don't have to play basketball. And obviously, my sister took a different route playing soccer, but yeah, they were definitely the two that got me into it and helped me stick with it.
So, how old were you when you legit beat your parents one-on-one?
Oh, I'm gonna say I beat my dad probably in like 6th or 7th grade. He won't admit to that. No way. To this day, I probably have never beaten him, according to him. And my mom, I don't know if I ever played my mom one-on-one. I think as I got older, she's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna stay away from that. I don't want to get hurt or anything." So,
okay. Now, did you follow the Drake or the Drake team men's or in the Missouri Valley Conference much as a kid then?
Not as much. No, we went to like the Hy-Vee Classics down in Des Moines. When like Iowa State, UNI, and Drake would all be there. So that was kind of the majority of what I knew about the Valley. I didn't know a whole lot, but obviously ever since in high school I learned more, and then now here it's part of my life.
So Drew, this is Randy. Welcome to the show. Hey, question about the recruiting process then. So let's talk about maybe kind of your youth, kind of how you grew up, maybe when you started playing basketball, were you part of AAU, what organization, and then kind of the recruiting process, how you ended up being a Panther.
Okay, so kind of a long story.
We got time. You're good.
Perfect. My class got canceled today too, so I got time as well. So freshman year of high school, I didn't play varsity all 4 years like most guys. I played only 2 years. So I played my junior, senior year. Going into freshman year, the coach thought I was going to be on the freshman B team. I just kept my thing has always been like, just work as hard as you can, and then like you'll just see results. That's always how I've been. So freshman year, they said, oh, you'll be on the B team. I ended up on the A team. Sophomore year, they're like, oh, you'll just play sophomores. I ended up on varsity at the end of the year. I just never like got in. And then I started varsity ever since as a junior and senior. But so I was at Dowling Catholic. Not a big basketball school, really big football school when I was there. They won state something crazy, like 7 years in a row or something.
Right.
The only time I was really in Cedar Falls was for the state football championship game. So that was a good time. But And then AAU, I played all Iowa Attack and Ames.
Yeah.
Played that for 2 years, and once again, they're like, "All right, you're not even gonna be on the A team. You're gonna be on the C team." So I was pretty like upset about that. But like my parents like, "Do you want to like try somewhere else? Do you want to like leave?" I'm like, "No, like I'm gonna stick with it because like I didn't leave Dowling when I didn't get varsity when I wanted, so I'm gonna not gonna leave now." Ended up on A team, like at Attack. So like I just keep like working and working. That's kind of my thing. And so recruiting, I was mostly seen as a D3, D2 kind of prospect. Um, so that was basically all the recruiting I was getting. And then my senior year was COVID. So we went to the state tournament and we played Cedar Falls. That was my last high school game, and we lost by 2, I think. Some of the guys like to bring that up because I'm got Chase, Landon, Trey, even AJ sometimes. I'm like, all right.
Yep.
That's fun. But so I think that was the only game you and I actually saw me play was at Wells Fargo. And I had emailed them a couple weeks earlier saying, "Hey, I would love to walk on." Because like I've always wanted to go Division 1. That was kind of like my goal, my standard. So I said, "Hey, I would love to walk on." Didn't hear anything, didn't think much of it. Played the game, we lost, we're done, whatever. COVID hits, we're all shut down. So and it was probably like mid-April of my senior year. I didn't know where I was going. I woke up one day and I was like, all right, like I just want to commit today. I don't want to know anymore. I just want to commit. And so I was between a D2 and a D3. And I go upstairs and literally this is crazy. This is like my crazy God story kind of, but like on that day, my parents sat me down and they said, "Hey, Coach O'Connor, who is my head coach for Dowling, he's got a buddy named PJ Hogan at UNI, and they want you to walk on." And I can't even describe the feeling of just hearing that. I was so excited. And so literally ever since like my parents said that, like I didn't even need to talk to any of the coaches. I was like, I'm there, like I'm committed.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously I did talk to the coaches and they reached out, but so yeah, it was maybe like a week later after that I committed, and then I never had an official visit. I never met the coaches. I had never been in the facilities until my first day on campus.
Wow.
So it was a big kind of chance that I took, but it's paid off and I love every second of it.
Did you just, when you said that you wanted to walk on with them, did you just send them a random email, or did you just leave a voicemail on Coach Jake's phone, or what did you do?
So my parents actually signed me up for this program that was like helped you to like reach out to college coaches. And I thought it was really stupid at the time. Like no coach is gonna look at this. Like they're off recruiting, watching all these AAU games. Like no coach is gonna use this, but they had to like pay for it. So I was like, all right, like I'll give it a shot. So I emailed the coaches, just kind of like hey, here's me, here's all this, and talking to them now, like they get a lot of those, which I didn't know. But I didn't get a response, so I was like, oh, whatever. Didn't really think much of it. And then that day I woke up when I was like, I'm gonna commit today. I honestly at that point I had accepted like I'm not gonna go D1. Like I'm gonna have to pick between this D2 and this D3. And then yeah, and then my parents sat me down and gave me the news.
So what other
So
schools did you put on that list?
On like the email list or on
Yeah,
like
yeah.
oh, I actually have a list on my phone. So my dad told me he's like, all right, you want to go D1, you got to email all these schools kind of around the area. So my list was Iowa, Iowa State, UNI, Drake, South Dakota, North Dakota, South Dakota State, North Dakota State, uh, Bradley, Illinois State. Yeah, so just like a lot of local schools, and then I didn't get one reply, so I was like, all right, whatever. Like,
so
actually did get a reply from Iowa State, but they said like, oh, you can enroll as a student and go to walk-on tryouts in the fall. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I want to know.
so question then. So the question between your D2 and D3 school, what were those 2 or 3 options?
That was D2 was Missouri St. Louis and
Okay.
yeah, down in St. Louis, and then Simpson in Indianola. So
Yep.
Simpson was
Yep.
like the first school to really recruit me, and they were big on me the whole way. Something their coach told me was like, "Oh, you can come in and start right away." Like, I'm like, that sounds great, but like, I really want to like me myself. I was like, I want to get better. I want to be challenged and pushed. So like, if I'm coming in my first day on campus, I'm just gonna start. Like, yeah, I'll still get better, but like if I take this huge step of trying to go Division 1, like I'm gonna get, in my mind, I'm gonna get this much better than so.
Well, not only that, because you would have the obviously the facilities, the
Mm,
strength and conditioning coaches, maybe the food, the meal program. Who knows, right? What you
yeah,
would had. So it's just going to make you better competition. And it sounds like you've been kind of an overachiever, which is fantastic, right?
me
And so
too.
now you get this opportunity to show who you really are, which is that's cool. That's a very cool story, Chuck.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, day one. I mean, most people get recruited. He just shows up. He just shows up one day. So,
Right.
and this goes so well with a quote that Seth Tuttle told Randy and I yesterday. And this is the quote. He says, "Drew is a Panther through and through. He's everything you want to look for in kids when they're recruited. He's a leader of a team in hours spent in the gym and watching film. And as a coach, you never have to worry if Drew's going to be prepared or not because he's always fully ready to execute the game plan." When you hear Seth Tuttle say a quote like that, what does that mean to you?
that means a lot. I mean, I love Tut, and just knowing also like what he's done here at this school, it's just it's so cool to hear someone say that and just have like complete confidence in me in that. But that's also something they've told me every day is like you like sounds kind of bad. You don't have a choice. Like you got to be ready because there's times Coach Shape will just like some like there'll be some games I play, some games I don't, and it's whatever. But it's like I just got to be ready. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna be ready no matter what. So hearing that though is really cool to hear and just how they kind of recognize and see what I do. It's just yeah, makes me feel really good.
Well, when
That's
Jake
cool.
says, okay, number 33, you're in, why is he putting you in?
I think it's just because he trusts me. He knows that what he's gonna get out of me. There's a quote Bowen actually has hanging up in his locker. I don't know it exactly, but something like consistency is like the hardest human quality to like maintain or something. And that's something I try to do. Like, all right, I'm not gonna go out and give you 30 points and get 10 boards, whatever. I'm just gonna go do my job, whether that's pick and pop, make it three, or just play defense. Like, I think Coach Shake he knows what he's gonna get out of me, and so he knows, all right, if I put Drew in, this is what I'm gonna get. This is what we need. Let's do it.
So we interviewed AJ Green not too long ago. We asked, how do you connect with some of the former players? And he mentioned that one of the things he does is he actually connects with you on almost a weekly basis.
Yeah, I'll talk to Bo. Kind of we just stay in touch, check in with how he's doing. Every once in a while, I talk to Drew, Daniel, almost every week. We do Bible studies over the phone together. So he's one of my close friends. He was in the wedding, so I talk to him a lot.
And so I guess my question to you is, first, do you give any advice to AJ? I maybe, because that question was, what does he do to help you guys out? Do you ever call him and say, hey, by the way, I notice your footwork's just a little bit slow, or you have a little bit of a hitch on your shot you should really work on? Do you ever give him any advice?
I wouldn't say I give him too much basketball advice just because AJ's a lot better than I am. But I think we're kind of in a similar boat of like, hey, we don't know when we're always going in and when we're going to be needed. So it's just kind of that staying ready part. So we really relate on that and just kind of talking each other through that. So yeah, just having each other and being able to relate that way is really good.
Well, of course, it's great knowing
That's
that the two of you are doing Bible studies all the time. And Randy and I, being Christians ourselves, we just love to hear that kind of stuff. Tell us about your spiritual life and how it plays a role as a player and a student.
Oh wow. So yeah, I've grown up Catholic my whole life, went to Dowling, Catholic school. So actually my first day of college was the first day I didn't have to wear a uniform to school. So that was kind of a big shock for me. I wasn't wearing a collared shirt and a polo. I could just wear this. I was like, this is so weird. Um, but yeah, I've really always had a big faith in God, belief, and late as a freshman, AJ and Fife were kind of the two guys on the team that would kind of organize a Bible study and help us out in that way. Now they're gone, so now it's kind of my job. So I'm kind of the leader-ish of organizing all that for the team. But yeah, my faith has just been very big for me, and the times that I've struggled, there's definitely been days that I don't feel like playing basketball. I don't feel like going in every day, but like God just he reminds me of that day I committed, like, hey, you're here for a reason. Like, don't give up, don't quit, stay close to me. And he's really kind of used this struggle sometimes just to draw me closer to him. And I I think I've been able to kind of try and just display that and how I play and how hard I work. That's not for me, but it's all for him.
Yeah, that's cool. And we talk about a platform, right? And you kind of have a platform for that, and it's awesome that you share your faith and that you get to do that. So tell us about some of the younger players that have come in, and maybe you've maybe not made a spiritual difference. Obviously, your actions speak louder than your words, which is really cool. But kind of somebody maybe you've taken under your wing, and you've kind of helped them through a struggle. Because coming in as a freshman, as you did into this program, well-established program with some talent, it can be very difficult because you may have to sit out. You may redshirt. I mean, there's certain things that people don't understand that are really tough for these student athletes. So talk about a couple of the younger players maybe that you've influenced a little bit.
I think for sure the first ones that come to mind, I think, are Charlie Miller, Ege, and then RJ and Kyle, just the really young guys this year because one, I get to connect with them really well because we play scout team every day. So I get to play with them, talk to them. But especially Charlie, because he's another walk-on and he's from North Carolina. So I've really been able to kind of help relate, like, hey, I know exactly what you're feeling, but also like I've been able to earn some playing time myself. So don't quit, don't stop. Like, and I don't think he is, but he's definitely one I think I've kind of taken under my wing, if you like you said. But and then RJ and Kyle, just how Fife and AJ and Trey Burhow and Taiwan were to me, coming in, like explaining things and help pointing out like practice, like that's how I feel to them. But I sometimes the way some of those older guys did was like, you're a freshman, they kind of like pick on you a little bit as a joke, but try to make it more like friend to friend. So they kind of like I don't know. That's just how I am as a person. So yeah, I just really try to just help them out in practice, whether it's a drill, whether it's a rotation, what you got to do, how you got to do it, and what Coach Jay kind of expects. Yeah, I just try to make sure that they're all kind of squared away, and I think they've done a great job so far.
Well, some of the guys that you brought up, like Trey and Taiwan, and let's talk about some of their final years here. And AJ, I think his year was, his final year as well. And here's the interesting thing, Randy, is that when you look at that 2021 to 2022 squad, let's look at those 3-point leaders for a moment. You have Trey Burhow and AJ that shot about 39% from 3-point land. Taiwan and Nate Heisey, 35%. And Bowen Bourne, 33%. Now, what people don't know is there's only one man on that team that shot 50% from 3-point land 2 years in a row. And we're talking to him right now. Factual, isn't it?
It is. I think it was like 1 for 2. But
well, let's not go over details. We're not going over details.
We can edit those details out right there.
Exactly. I mean, who cares if you only took 2 shots one year and 6 shots the next? You were still the leader, 50%. Do you ever throw that in the face of AJ Green?
No, but I should now that you say that. I kind of forgot about that. I'm gonna start doing that. Next time it goes like 4 for 5 one night, I'm like, oh, that's no big deal. I have 50% for 2 years in a row. So
yeah. AJ Green wasn't even 50% 2 years in a row. So
one fun fact I kind of forgot to say is I assisted AJ's last bucket at UNI. I don't know, it's just kind of cool. We didn't really play a lot together, but it was at BYU. We were down like 20 or something, and Coach Jake subbed me in for like Taiwan just to get him like a round of applause. And there's just like they shoot it, they miss. I got a board, I throw up the court. AJ takes one dribble. He's basically at half court, shoots it, makes it, gets subbed out. So I was like, oh, it's kind of cool.
Your mom and yourself may not be like the leading scorers all time for each of your schools, but you have one of the best historical moments for each of your schools. So
totally.
Hey, this past weekend was one of the most exciting weekends that we've had at UNI in a long time when it comes to, figuring out milestones for different people. One thing that's really interesting is that Coach Jake, he's a pretty even keel guy. He's really famous for telling players, like, don't let your highs get too high and your lows get too low. But all of a sudden, we see this locker room video of him just going nuts and getting really excited. You guys are throwing water all over him and everything. Tell us what it was like actually getting to see Coach Jake experience a real high.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was really cool. It's actually funny, like right after the game, we usually like shake hands and just walk off the court. And he was trying to lead us off the court, like, hey, let's go. Like, I don't even want to be a part of, like, this isn't about me. Like, say he doesn't like that. Then coming in the locker room, like, I think he just got all excited just knowing that like we're excited for him. So he kind of just let loose for a little bit. We had our water bottles and we're all throwing them, and it was really, really cool to see. But literally immediately after that video like was cut, he brought the entire staff up in front of us and just said that like it's not because of me, it's because we have amazing people like this and you guys to do this. Like it's just like so humbling just how even in like such a great accomplishment, he's not thinking of himself and he's always thinking of others and that he couldn't have done this alone. And so I think it's really cool that I get to play for someone like that.
Well, what were some of the things that maybe the players said before the game? And is there any extra pressure knowing that you want to get that win at home for Coach Jake?
Yeah. Well, we knew Southern was a really good team. And so one, we just wanted to get that out of the way. But also, yeah, we knew it was a big deal for coach. So we kind of felt like a little bit of not really like, all right, even if I'm like tired or I don't really want to play, like this is bigger than me. And it's always bigger than me. Like it's always for the team. But it's like this now is for the coach. This is for kind of this record. This is at home, Saturday night, great crowd. Like everything's kind of set up. Now we just got to deliver. So it's kind of I wouldn't say there was a ton of pressure because we knew what we had to do, but I think we were just ready to go and we wanted to get it for our coach who has done so much for us and I know for me, and I'm just glad we were able to do that.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt that that coaching staff starts with Coach Jake, right, and trickles down. But that coaching staff definitely, they're there for the players. They're not there for themselves or for the recognition, and you can tell that. I mean, they're out in the community talking with people, doing extra things in the community, maybe volunteering. The players volunteer. Uh, we're pretty blessed to have UNI men's and women's basketball program. I'll have the university here, period, I guess. And it's just been really cool to watch you guys mature, grow, and it's fun. It's fun when you're winning games as well.
Yeah, that helps a little bit.
Right? Yes.
Well, Randy, as you know, my kids play a little Cedar Valley basketball, and
Yep.
one of the kids on our team, his dad says to me that his son had the opportunity to play at the Coach J camp this past summer. And he starts
Yes.
saying to me, I said to him, because we know a good chunk of the players. So I was like, "Oh, who is the coach for your team?" And he goes, "Well, really, really nice guy." And he says to his son Noah, "What was the name of your coach?" And he said, "Oh, his name is Drew." And I thought that was really awesome, considering we were going to interview him the very next day because this happened last
Yes.
night. And
Yes.
just knowing that some kid and a dad said, "Wow, such a really nice guy." I mean, it's not overly descriptive, but it seems to like describe you very well. What is it like knowing that you helped get to coach these kids? And the thing they got out of it most was that you're just a really nice, good guy.
Yeah. I love coaching those kids. The camps are so fun and I think we do a good job of making it that way and also teaching them. But yeah, it's cool to hear that. I didn't think someone would remember me or remember my name because I'm not like a starter or anything, but like it's cool that like a kid like actually paid attention and like knows who I am and they tell their parents about me. Like I don't really think I have that big of an impact, but I guess I do. And yeah, it's just I try to always be the same person to everyone, no matter like who you are or like how young or old or whatever it is. Like I want to be known as like this good, genuine person. So it's cool to see that. And then I also try to reflect that on the court with how I play, how I treat my teammates, my opponents as well. And but I also just want to have fun. That's like my first 2 years. I was kind of the bench celebration guy. And I loved it. It was so fun. I just got to make things up. And so now it's like, all right, I'm in a different role, but I'm still gonna have fun. So it's cool
Yeah.
to know that that's kind of I'm recognized as that.
Well, between all you just said, as well as Seth Tuttle mentioning that you're a leader that spends hours in the gym and watching film, do we see a future coach on the horizon?
I definitely thought about it. I know I want to stick with basketball because that's the one thing that's really like drawn me. Like not gonna lie, a lot of stuff in school I'm not too fond of, but I I really do like basketball. I like the coaching aspect. So I don't know. I've thought about it and we'll just see wherever life takes me, but I definitely want to stick with basketball.
Well, before we let you go, do you have anything else for Panther fans today?
Let's get a win tonight at Evansville. That's all I got. I mean, thank you guys for always just supporting us and being there for us. We really do have the best fans, and I just like coming out to the McLeod and just knowing that we always have that constant support and love, no matter win or loss, high or low, like you guys are always there for us. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, Drew, thanks for joining the program. And once again, just another fine young man in the Cedar Valley. And we appreciate everything you do for us. And go Panthers.
It's time for the Panther Collective Questions of the Week, where we ask questions directly from you, the fans. Now, over time, we've had several questions about SinglesSpeed's Prowl and thought, why not invite the two guys that made it happen? So we have Dave Morgan from SinglesSpeed. We have Nick Sorbe from Panther Collective. Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us. This is looking forward. You're the bright spot in my morning. I'm excited to talk today.
There you go, Randy. You were the highlight of his day. That's awesome.
You know, we get told that quite often, Chuck, on our podcast, and it's just nice to have. I mean, it's just great for us as well.
So Nick, before we start talking about Prowl, though, as time goes on, more and more people are getting to know what the Panther Collective is all about. But perhaps you could just take a quick moment to share for those who don't.
Yeah, so the Panther Collective, we're right at about 2 years old now, maybe just a little less than, probably closer to 20 months. But you know, our primary focus is to work with the men's and women's student athletes to enhance their NIL, right? So we've partnered with both the men's and women's team, every member, and have worked to try to get them out in the community, serve our purpose of the Panther Collective, which is community betterment and engagement. And then by doing those things, we're able to compensate them. So that's something that's relatively new still to collegiate athletics, but they're now able to be paid. And so we're just kind of that intermediary that can work with some of these community organizations, work with Panther supporters, and you know, take those donations as they come in and be able to pass those monies on to them.
So question: How did the idea of the Prowl originate? Maybe both of you can kind of chime in on that.
Yeah, from my perspective, you know, there's a lot of really good collectives out there, primarily in the Power 5 ranks, and I think a beer was something that the better ones got on board with. You know, if we're talking here locally, University of Iowa's collective, the Swarm, has had one. We Will has done a great job. I think they're up to their 5th beer, maybe I saw just this past week. So it's just a passive revenue stream, and it's just a different way. I think as collegiate fans, there's so many different ways to support teams these days. You know, whether it's a season ticket holder, if it's a donation to the scholarship club, obviously supporting the collective. And this is just a new avenue within a lot of the collectives to go out, do something you're likely ordinarily going to do anyways, you know, go out and have a good time, drink a beer. And now you can do that and support these collectives in kind of a passive income type of way.
So Dave, Nick comes up to you and says, "Hey, I have an idea." So he throws that at you. What's the first thing that comes through your mind?
Yeah, so obviously I'm a big UNI guy, UNI alum, UNI supporter, UNI season ticket holder for probably more years than I can remember. I mean, as far back as I can remember, I've been going to these games and supporting the teams. So when Nick brings it to me right away, you know, all of me wants to be all in, right? I'm like, man, this is something that works for me. This is a passion of mine personally, and it kind of ties a couple things together, UNI athletics and the business that I try to lead at SinglesSpeed Brewing Company, right? And when you step back a little bit and think about SinglesSpeed Brewing Company, we try to be community-based and community organized as well. We try to partner with as many nonprofit organizations locally as we can when we think we can work on community betterment that way and try to help them build things up. So immediately it was green light for me. Let's figure out how to make this happen. But then you got to step back and look at it and say, what does that look like, right? This is like any other thing that we do from a business perspective. You have to step back and be like, how does this work financially, you know, for SinglesSpeed, to make sure that you could actually create some awareness for the Panther Collective and all of the good that they're trying to do for student athletes and for the community, but also how do you make sure that this project actually launches and there can be some proceeds back to allow them to do some good stuff, right? So we had to slow roll it a little bit, I would say, right, Nick, for us to go through and you allowed us time to do our due diligence on how will this work, what's the risk reward for SinglesSpeed Brewing Company on this project too, because we want to make sure that it works, right? So I wanted to green light it right away, but we had some work to do to make sure we could get this beer right and get this launch right, all the things that go into launching a beer, you know, all the way back to recipe creation to like, we want to make sure we make something that the fan wants to drink, right? whether it's at the game or maybe just a Thursday night out on the town or Sunday watching football in their basement, right? We want Prowl to be something that the fan is interested in consuming, not just for the cool purple and gold can and the affiliation with the Panther Collective, but also for the liquid that's in it. So this thing has staying power for both us and the Panther Collective. And when we do something like that, we take the crafting of liquid seriously. So we wanted to make sure we got it right. So it took us a little bit. But I think we got there, and I'm happy with where we got it at this stage. And now we're just looking to grow it, you know, right? To get it to as many people as we can, and to show them what we've created and talk about why we've created it and see how much good we can do for the Panther Collective, and then allow them to take it and do great stuff.
So question, how would Dave, how would you best describe maybe the taste of it, maybe the difference, maybe don't give us the recipe, but maybe tell us kind of the difference.
Well, you know, so we wanted to make something that was very approachable and very crushable, which isn't always our goal, right? In the world of craft beer, sometimes you want to be the loudest, you want to be the boldest, you want to be the craziest, and we have beers that we do that with. For this one, we wanted to make it something that was very approachable for just the modern beer drinker, whether it's craft or if they're normally just going to a domestic and that's their beer of choice. We wanted to make it approachable to them, but still interesting enough that it's like, oh, this isn't beer XYZ, right? I don't like to name brands at any point in day, but it's not that. So we wanted to give it a little bit, I want to just say more character than maybe a domestic light lager, but without taking it into the point that it's only going to be approachable for an IPA drinker. So what we did is we created a golden ale, and then we gently hopped it with a hop called El Dorado. And we put that in there for flavor and aroma, not for bitterness, which some people think, oh, hoppy, oh, IPA, oh, bitter. I don't want that, right? We threw it in there just for flavor and aroma and just to get the beer into balance. So it's a little sweet, a little citrusy. And when I say sweet, maybe just gentle hints of caramel. When I say citrusy, I'd almost say tropical, you know, a little bit fruity, but then it goes away. And then you take another drink, right? It's not that kind of thing that lingers on. And it's just like, we want you to pick it up. We want you to put it back down. We want you to pick it up. We want you to put it back down. Eventually, we want you to walk up the steps. Maybe you sit courtside all the way up the steps to grab another one and come back down. You know, we want it to be that kind of beer, low ABV. So you can drink a couple and not have the concerns about that as well, you know? And that's why we're crafted, and that's where we landed.
So I know all of us have these type of friends. They bought some beer kit. They made their own brew in their garage or something, and then they say, "This is awful," right? We've all had friends that have said that, and so it's not like when you say, "Hey, let's make a beer." The next day, you're like, "Hey, here we go." So maybe on on an average beer that you make, maybe walk us through that process. How many times do you have to go back and forth on recipes? How long does it usually take? Like, tell us about the work behind having to create a beer.
Yeah, so it varies. We like to think we've gotten better with time. You got to remember we've been at this since 2012 to some degree, and then on a slightly larger level since 2017 when we opened in that Wonder Bread factory over in Waterloo. Over the years, we've crafted a lot of recipes, so we've got a little more experience than that garage guy at this stage, right? So we've got some plug and play techniques, and we understand the raw materials pretty well. We understand, you know, our system very well in terms of our brewing capabilities through it. Our water filtration, we have dialed in about as much as anybody can have water filtration dialed in, so we know exactly what we're putting in there for raw materials. We usually have a good idea what's going to come out the backside. Is it always great? No. With this beer, we got there quicker than some others. I would say 3 iterations of this recipe with minor tweaks, and we were there. It takes a couple weeks to get this beer through the system. So from when we make it until when we can try it for the first time, you're saying 16 to 20 days typically. And then we made adjustments, and then we had 16 to 20 days to try it again, made adjustments, we had 16 to 20 days and try it again. So if you did all that stuff in a timely fashion, we could get the recipe done. And this one, you could say we had dialed in within 60 days. I honestly like the first batch that came through the system, which doesn't always happen. But again, the people on our team are pretty good at what they do. We're pretty proud of them. And usually they can get this thing dialed in pretty quickly. Now, if you're talking about a beer like Jeremy and the Giant Peach or Jeremy and the Giant Peach Cobbler. We might have worked on that for 3 years and still unhappy with what we got and we retired it. So they're not always home runs. You know, they're not always home runs. But this one we liked pretty quick.
So as a consumer, where can we find Prowl and any other promotional events that are coming up or that you might have?
Yeah, so Prowl, obviously we have it in our tap rooms, Des Moines, Waterloo, Cedar Falls. It's also pretty well distributed across the state right now. Hy-Vee's, a real easy go-to for Prowl. Fairway, we got a shot, you know, locally, Fairway's a strong supporter of us, which is great. They might not be quite as statewide in terms of putting Prowl on the shelf, but you know, Fairway's a good supporter of ours. You can typically find it there. And then locally, Happy's, man. Happy's is a fantastic spot if you're in the Cedar Valley. They're always in support of the stuff that we do, and they're a local company looking to do great stuff too. Not all that different than the Panther Collective and University of Northern Iowa. I know they're as local as they can get too, so they've always been a good supporter of us. You can find it there. Sure. Events this weekend, we got a big one. There's a big game this weekend, Saturday, right? Our tap room's throwing a party down there. The Panther Collective has stepped up, and they're going to help us promote a pre-game and post-game party. Nick, you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we know the alumni base in the Des Moines area is strong. You see it at every time that we play at Drake. And so we thought it'd be a cool opportunity. Dave's going to host just kind of a pre-game social, so to speak. We're going to provide bus transportation to and from the NAP Center. So anybody that wants to come enjoy themselves at SinglesSpeed, we're going to provide a free shuttle that will run everyone to the game, and then we'll reciprocate that transportation back to SinglesSpeed after the game. So feel free if you're in the Des Moines area, or maybe you're traveling from Cedar Falls and want to go down and hang out before the game. We'll gladly get you across town, hopefully get to see a victory, and then bring you back to SinglesSpeed and do a little celebrating afterwards.
And we went to the launch party that you had for Prowl, and I could tell you, and everyone else that listens or watches this show, we could tell you Dave Morgan knows how to throw a party, so you'll want to be there. So
yeah, it really should be a good time. I know the Des Moines team's excited to get some fans down there and show off that tap room. You know, that tap room's only been open for a handful of months at this point in time. So we're excited to show people, whether they're in Des Moines already or coming to Des Moines for the game, what we can do down there in terms of a Des Moines-based party. So yeah, it's exciting stuff.
Well, Nick, before we let you guys go, is there anything else you want to talk about the collective and how people can learn more?
I think a lot of our stuff is online. So check us out, our website, thepanthercollective.com. And if anybody ever has questions or wants to know more, I'm always happy to take those emails and inquiries. I think as time has gone on and we get out there a little bit more, and certainly when they part of the season, there are, more inquiries. And so we just considered another great way to support UNI, and specifically UNI basketball. So UNI is very fortunate to have a lot of great supporters, and we're just another avenue that people can lean into if they're looking to support the program. One additional thing I will say, though, is I want to thank both you and Randy for, I think, the exposure that you've given the student athletes. The best part about what we do is getting to know a lot of these student athletes and the men's and women's team. And this platform has been tremendous in featuring those student athletes this past, 3 months. And the work that you guys do is much appreciated by myself, and I think anybody else that's associated with the program. So just want to say thanks to you too for giving us that avenue to get those men and women to just access to the community and kind of the behind the scenes, so to speak, that you guys are able to shed some light on.
Well, thanks so much for saying that. We were on the radio for all those years. We were offered millions of dollars from, I don't want to say the company, but we turned it down just so that we could join forces with the Panther Collective instead, because that's the type of guys that Randy and I are.
Well, getting to know these kids, I mean, they do great stuff for our community as well. And Nick and Dave, thank you for supporting the Panthers. We appreciate it, and hopefully we get a big win this tonight and then this weekend, obviously. So go Panthers. Financial Architect's quote of the week: keep your face always toward the sunshine, and the shadows will fall behind you.
I like it.
Yeah. I think it was a good one for the day, especially the sun's probably going to peek out today, which would be awesome.
It's about time. It's going to be a warm 37 degrees.
Right. Get a little slush, a little snow melt.
Well, Great, inspiring quote for everybody. As usual, good for me, good for you, good for everybody. Now it's time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. See you next week. Enter the closing music.